What's up, everybody? This is Syntax, aka Straight Killer Forilla. On my last video, I showed you guys how to spawn in a custom C130 event and also how to put the C130 in the already existing event for Heli Crashes. At the end of the video, I talked about how I would show you guys how to spawn loot to those events, and then also how to spawn in some of the unreleased items in DayZ for a console. So get ready to learn, strap in. This tutorial starts right now. Okay, so we've already got a local backup of our server files on the desktop. So we're going to open up the files that we're going to need for this video in Notepad++. I'm going to go to my Enoch folder. I'm going to open up the DB folder, and I'm going to open up first my events file with Notepad++. All right, so then I'm going to go to File, Open. I'm going to open up 4 more files that we're going to be needing for this tutorial. All right, the second file I'm going to open up is going to be in the Enoch folder, the main folder, and it's going to be the map Group Proto XML file. All right, then we go back and open back in the DB file or DB folder. I'm going to open up the types.xml file, and then I'm going to go back and open back into my Enoch folder. I'm going to open the spawnable types file, CFG spawnable types .xml. So I'm open that, and then we need one more file. I'm going to open the random presets, so CFG random presets.xml. So I'm going to open that. So we've got 5 files we're going to be working with today. First, I'm going to show you how to add loot to the C130, and then we're going to talk about spawning in items or adding items that are not released yet on console into the game. So I'm going to click on my events. So we need events, and then I'm going to drag my map Group Proto file over here to the right so that I can see my events file and my map Group Proto at the same time. So if you remember from my last video, I use the find feature quite a bit. All right, so I'm going to click on this events file so it knows I'm working with this file. I'm going to Control F and go to find. And so we know that the event we're trying to, edit is a C130, or has a C130, the event has a C130 in it. All right, so but the event was a Heli Crash, so I'm going to search for Heli, and that's going to take me to my static Heli Crash events. This was the one that was originally there that we added the C130 to. And then this was the customs Heli Crash that we made solely to spawn in the C130 by itself. So these are the 2 events that we're working with. And then this is the actual item, the C130 that we want to add loot to. So I'm going to copy this title for the C130. And then I'm going to go over here to my map Group Proto. I'm going to click on this file so it knows I'm working with it. And then I'm going to search, paste in the name of C130, and I'm going to search it. All right, and that's going to bring me to the actual C130 entry on Map Group Proto. Remember, Map Group Proto, or I don't know if I explained this already, but Map Group Proto is where the game gets the information about the loot that item is particularly going to spawn. All right, so this is a C130, and as we see right here, it has some attributes for the loot that it's going to spawn. So we've got a military usage, so it's going to be military type loot. There's a loot floor, so there's items that are going to be on the floor. And then we've got tools, so military type tools, military type containers, military type clothing, military type weapons, right? And then these items are going to be on the floor and shelves. Now, up here we've got the loot max, so 10 is the most or the largest amount of actual items that can spawn for this C130, and that's controlled by this number. And then the floor, because there's only the floor location, right, they put 10, which is, so 10 of the 10 items that can spawn here will spawn here on the floor. Now, if we want to increase the amount of loot, or we want to decrease the amount of loot that spawns at the C130, then we just change these numbers. So I want a little more loot to spawn because the C130 is pretty big, and it's got a lot more floor. It's got a lot of floor. So let's fill up that floor, and I'm going to put 20, and I'm going to put 20 here. So 20 items can spawn total, and I want 20 of those 20 to spawn on the floor. All right. Now, so we've got the attributes about the loot, but there's no loot spawning, and the reason why there is no loot spawning is because there is no coordinates for the actual loot to spawn. So if we look at some of these other entries, right, we've got the wrecked police car is what this is, right? It's got similar attributes, right? It's got police usage, so they've got tools, containers, clothes, and weapons of a police type that will spawn. But the difference between these two is that here we have actual locations, we have actual grid coordinates, actual positions that these items will spawn into. And so the reason why the C130 doesn't spawn anything is because there's no coordinates. It doesn't know where to put anything at. So we're going to add coordinates. Now, because they didn't give us coordinates, from the jump, then we're going to have to put some in there. And the easiest way to do this, right, without getting really, really, really technical with this, is we're just going to try to find a similar item, and we're going to copy its coordinates and plug them in there. So we want to treat this like a heli crash. It's a downed plane. The actual heli crashes are pretty similar. Now the sizes are a little different, but we're just gonna go with those because it just makes it easy. So if I want to use one of these, for example, I'm gonna take the UH1, right? So I'm gonna copy the name here, right, for one of the actual helicopter crashes, and then I'm gonna click over here, and then I'm gonna actually search for this entry, right? Because we know loot spawns at the helicopters, right? That crash. So we're gonna find, and here's our entry in Map Group Proto for the UH1Y, and similar deal, right? Military, same type items from the same category or same usage, but this time we've got coordinates. So what I'm just going to do simply is just copy all of these coordinates, right? And that's everything between the container tags, right? I'm going to copy these, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plug them into my C130 entry so that there's positions now that loot can actually spawn. Now again, it's because it's a helicopter, it's a little smaller, you may have stuff in some weird places. Some stuff may end up under the plane or on top of the plane and that kind of stuff, but we'll get loot there, right? Again, you can get really technical with this, but I'm trying to keep it simple for you guys. All right, so we've got what we need copied coordinate wise, and then I'm going to go over here and copy my heli crash name again, and then I'm going to click back over here so it knows I'm talking to this document, and then I'm going to search for C130s. Now you could just click the down menu, and everything that you searched for before will kind of be stored in here, right? That's another way to select it, but I just copy and pasted it in because it's easy and quick. All right, and then I'm going to search for it again. It takes us right back to our C130 entry, and then what we're going to do is underneath the tag, right, underneath this last tag, we're going to put our coordinates. So I'm going to go to the very end, hit enter to create some space, and then I'm simply going to Control V. Oh, but it ain't gonna work out, right? Because I copied my land wreck, right? All right, so let's try this again. Let's use this little feature. Let's use the software, right? So I'm gonna go back to. I'm gonna click over here so it knows I'm talking about here. I'll go back to my search. I'm gonna go back to the UH, and if we're gonna copy these points again, all right, I'm gonna copy all those coordinates. I'm gonna go back over here, and I'm gonna go back to my C130, and I'm gonna hit paste or search find, and we're back to our C130, and then I'm gonna click in that space we created, and then I'm gonna Control V and paste all of our coordinates into that entry, right? So now we've got military stuff spawning in these locations on the heli crash, right? And so just doing that on top of adding the the events or whatnot we talked about in the last video, this is gonna cause actual loot to spawn at the C130. And then we're going to do is we're going to go save this file. All right. And then we're going to go load the game and see if we get loot this time. Okay, so before we actually launch the game, we need to go ahead and patch over our changes to the server so that we can actually see the changes take effect. All right. So what I'm going to do is open up WinSCP. All right. And I'm going to, on this left side, I'm going to go ahead and open up the server backup on my computer, the Enoch folder, and then I'm going to connect to my test server, which is this one, And then you're gonna make sure you enter the correct password. All right, and then we're connected to our server. So now before we patch over our changes, again, I recommend that you back up. Anytime you have a configuration that you know is working, back it up before you implement changes, so that if something goes wrong, that you can always go back to a version of your files where you know everything was working. So we had the C130 spawning just fine, just didn't have loot. And the only thing we edited so far was this map group proto file, right? It's the only thing we've actually edited. So what I'm going to do is in WinSCP is I'm going to go to my map group proto file here, and then I'm just going to rename it to you know, add whatever you want to add. You know, I'm gonna put org for original, so that I know that this is the file before I made any new changes, and so if something goes wrong, I can come back and just use this file. And then since we only edited one file, what I'm gonna do is just go into my Enoch folder on my computer, and I'm just gonna drag over the one file, the map group proto. I want to drag it over. It's gonna ask me for permission. I say okay, and then it copies over there just fine. Now, if I had modified multiple files, then it might be easier to just drag the entire Enoch folder over to the server. But since it was just one file, it's a lot quicker and easier just to drag the one file. Okay. All right. So we've got the changes applied to the server. Then what I'm going to do is go over to my server and start it. So my server is not running, it stops. You should stop your server before you patch the files over, as I explained in my first video. So my server stopped, patch it over. I'm gonna switch this to Livonia. All this should be fine. So I'm gonna save the changes. All right, so Livonia is the map we're working with. All right, and then now because the C130 did not have loot already, if I add the changes and then I simply restart the server, because there was no loot there, that loot should just spawn in. Now, if for some reason there was already loot, you know, rendered in the game, and if I try to change that loot, the changes would not affect immediately, because loot's already there. That loot would have to despawn and go away, and then when a new loot comes back, it would come back in a new format, right? So in that situation, if you want the effects to take effect immediately, you would want to wipe your server and then patch your files over and then start the server. But again, all I need to do in this case is patch them over and restart it, because there was no loot to begin with. So the new loot will show up because there wasn't loot there in the first place. That may be making it a little complicated. Hopefully it doesn't. But to make sure everything goes smooth, just wipe your server before you implement any changes. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and start the server, and then we're gonna load the Xbox game and see what we got. Okay, so I've got my game loaded. I'm at the community servers list. By the way, Kings of DayZ dropped a new game mode yesterday, King of PvP. So be sure to get on, if you're on Xbox, be sure to hop on and check it out. And we also have a RP server on Xbox as well, and King of DayZ RP. And they both are high population right now, so should be some pretty interesting engagements. So be sure to get out there and check those out, okay? But we're gonna look for my test server, and so we need to search for that. And so I'm gonna go to search, and I'm going to well, I'm gonna try to search. All right, we're gonna put Stray Killer, and then we're gonna search for that, and there we go. We got a test server there. Let's go ahead and log in and see what we get. Waiting, still waiting, even though I forwarded the video. Why am I waiting? Let go. All right, spawning in. We're gonna let stuff render in just a little bit. All right, it's a little dark on the server, but that's that structure. that our event should be to the right of, and there it is. Let's run over and see what our loot looks like. I see there's some zombies hanging out. Alright guys, I don't want to fight. I just want to see loot. All I want to see is loot. I can see there's something on the door. And the chase begins. Alright, so we got a megaphone. What else we got? Some CCU pants. What was that? Ghillie suit, butt stock. These guys are gonna trap me here in a minute. I'll get the hell out of here. Ammo box. Looks like things are still spawning in as we run around the plane getting our ass kicked. Alright, let's see. I still got some stamina. Oh, come on, guys. Alright, come on, guys. I just want to get on the plane. Can I just climb up there? Just watch that for a second. Alright. Alright, so again, because those coordinates are not exact for this item, you may get some stuff in some weird places. It's a little dark, so it may be a little hard to see. But I recommend checking on top, check the wings, check underneath, the base of it, check everywhere stuff could be. Anywhere. It's usually a little easier to see when it's daylight and you're not about to bleed out. Alright. But in any case, we got loot, right? Well, finish me off. What are you waiting for? Finish me off. They don't want that. Okay, let's talk about unreleased items and the way we add them to the game. Alright, so first what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and close this map group proto file because we won't need it for this purpose. And in fact, I'm going to close everything except for my types file. So I'm going to talk about how to get items that are unreleased on console into the game. And then in my next video, I'll talk about how to put those items that you put in the game into an object, like a chest, for instance, and spawn it into a location so you can have direct access to it. Because it's a little involved, and I really want you guys to understand what's actually happening, okay? So we're just going to talk about getting the actual items in the game, and then in the next video, I'll talk about spawning those items into a chest or something so that you can have them right there. Okay, items that we interact with. You pick up, you can shoot, drive, throw, store stuff in. All these items we interact with are going to be found in the types file. And adding unreleased items on console into this file is really very simple. Okay, so what I try to do is I try to find something very similar to the item. Now, obviously, in order to add an item into the game, you have to know what the item is, or at least what the name of it is. And you can search the game code if you have access to like a PC version of the game, and kind of go through the files and see if you can find some of these names. But a lot of people have done this for you already, and they post a list of these item types or these type names online. I'm going to link one of those lists in the description, and they give you names for them. You simply just plug them in, and then launch the game and see if they spawn. If they spawn in, then you get the item name correct. And some of these lists have more working items than others, but it's all really trial and error. But in any case, what I find to make it very simple for myself is once I know an item name, and for instance, I'm going to go ahead and try to add 2 items. In this example, we're going to add the pitchfork, and then we're going to add the hockey stick. All right. These items are not in the game on console normally, but we're gonna add them. And so what I try to do is find something very similar to that item and use its information, its code entry as a template. So we'll start with the pitchfork. That's like a tool, a farming tool. It's like a pole with a fork on it, and they use it to move hay, I believe is what it's used for. But it's a farming tool, and so something that's in the game that may be similar or in the same type of category, I'm gonna think it's maybe the shovel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for the shovel. All right, and there it is. Okay, and so what we want to pay attention to is we obviously got the name, which is the shovel. There's 50 of them, and then here's the important stuff we want to pay attention to. So the shovel is in a category of tools, so it's a tool. It's found on the floor, and its usage is industrial and farm. So you're gonna find this tool on the floor in industrial or farming locations. So to me, pitchfork kind of fits this category. So I'm going to use the shovel entry here as a template for my pitchfork. Now, when you add entries to code, right, you want to try to do it in such a way that it's easy to reference later on. And so something you can do that, to make it easier, is using comments. Now, in the game, a comment is indicated, or at least in Notepad++, is indicated by green. And so all commenting does is it tells the game to ignore this information, right? So I had to enter the creative space here to show you guys what I mean. So the opening tag for a comment is the less than sign. Excuse me. You've got the at least for this purpose, right? You got the exclamation mark, and then you got 2 dashes, right? And so that's the opening tag. And if you notice, everything underneath that opening tag just turned green. That's because, again, everything in between the opening tag and then the closing tag of a comment, right, is ignored. And in Notepad++, it turns it green, which tells you this is not being executed. It's being ignored by the game. And so if I put test, right, and then I put the closing tag, and the closing tag is 2 dashes and the greater than sign, then test is in between the open and closing tag, and so everything in between there, which is just test, is commented out. And so when the game reads this file, it's going to read all this, right? And when it gets to here, it's going to ignore this because this is a comment. This opening and closing tag tells it don't worry about this, and then it's just going to go from here to here and keep reading and executing. All right, so this is important to know because this one is a good way to keep notes in your code so you know what stuff is, what it does, but it also makes it much easier to find things in your code. So for example, I've already added some items that were unreleased to the game, and if I search for that opening tag, I make notes all throughout my code, right? But if I search for that opening tag, right, it's going to show me every instance where I have this opening tag. And so right here, I've got added items. So this is where I've got all the items that are normally not there. And just as easy as I found it, you can find stuff too if you make notes. So these are items. There aren't any that I've already added. That's a mess tin, cassette tape, field shovel, fire extinguisher, so on and so forth. All right, so I'm gonna go down. I'm gonna go back up here to the beginning. All right, so I'm gonna click on the end of my note, create a space, and then I want to add a pitchfork. So again, I'm gonna use a shovel as my template. So I'm gonna search for, or actually, I can go to my history and find shovel, and I can hit find next, and then there's field shovel. I'm gonna keep going, and there's shovel, right? So I'm going to copy everything from opening tag to closing tag of type. I'm gonna copy that, and then I'm gonna go back to my new items entry, right? There we go, added items, and there's that space I created. So I'm gonna click here, and then I'm just gonna paste in that whole shovel entry that I copied, because this is going to be my template. And then all I have to do is just change this name to what I want it to be. In this case, it's going to be a pitchfork. Right? And again, the name has to be correct, and you guys can reference this from the notes or wherever you find it, right? And there's going to be 50 of them. And then, so all the other attributes are the same, right? It's going to be a tool. It's going to be found on the floor, and it's going to be in industrial and farming areas, right? And then I simply save my document, Control S, or go to File and hit Save, which I've already done. And really that's it. And so now when you patch this to your game and you restart your game, then everywhere you would have found a shovel, right, or where you may potentially have found a shovel, you will now be able to find a pitchfork in the game. And it's really that simple to add these things. So I'm gonna add another one. I'm gonna add the what was it, hockey stick. All right. So so something similar to a hockey stick. It's not really a tool. It's kind of like a toy, but I guess it could be a tool. But is there anything in the game that kind of similarly fits that category of a hockey stick? And there's only one thing I can think of. All right, the baseball bat. All right, so I'm gonna search baseball. We got the baseball, and let's just see what they call it. So they consider it a tool, and then it's got a usage for a town. So very simple, right? For the baseball bat, it's a tool, and you can find it in a town. So works for me. I'm gonna go ahead and copy this entry here, and hockey stick, very similar to a baseball bat in the category wise for me. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to keep things consistent, right? So that everything's organized. I like everything organized, right? I'm like, something wrong with me. I don't know. I'm going to go back over here to my find. I'm going to go back to my search in my opening tag for a comment until I find my added items section. And so I have all my added stuff in one nice area. I'm just going to go to the end, create a new space, and then I'm going to paste in baseball bat, right? And all I'm going to do here is just double click and select baseball bat and enter the new name, right? Hockey stick. That's what I believe it's called. All right. And then I would save the file. Okay. And then yeah, that's it. It's really that simple. And so the only thing would be left to do is to just patch this to the game server, my new types file with the additions. Again, I would save the old one as an original file in case something goes crazy, and then patch this over to it. Obviously, you would stop your server first, patch the file over, and then start the server. Now, here's a good example of what I may have been talking about earlier. So all the places where these new items can spawn, they probably already have items there. So if I don't rebuild or reinstall the game, then these items won't pop up. The hockey stick and the pitchfork won't pop up until somebody takes an item that in one of those locations, and then something has to respawn. So if I want it to immediately show up, then I need to reinstall the game, so it removes all the data that's there and put the new file in. And then when I start it, now it has a chance of spawning in initially. And it's just a matter of going to one of those areas and finding it. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and patch it to the server, and then go hop in the game and see if I can find one of these items in one of the areas it should be. And so as long as I'm in an industrial or farm, I should be able to find a pitchfork. And then if I'm in a town somewhere, I should be able to find a hockey stick. In fact, you know what? I'm going to make it life easier on myself. I'm going to add the industrial and farm to my pitchfork so that I can find them both in the same general area, same locations. So let's see. You can do this however you want to, right? But I'm gonna go find my my pitchfork entry, which was right underneath it. All right, and then I'm just gonna copy this industrial and farm usage entries. I'm gonna copy that, and then I'm gonna just add this to my hockey stick. Control V. All right, and so now you see I've added industrial and farm to town. So now you can find this tool in any of these three type locations. And just so, again, I'm weird, borderline ACD, thing has to be consistent. So since I added those two there, then shoot, why not? I guess I'll add town. Copy. I guess I'll add town to my pitchfork. All right, so you can find either of these, both of these items in the three general same locations. All right, so I'm gonna save. All right, so now we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna patch my stuff over to the server and jump in game, and we'll see if we can find them. Let go. Well, I don't think I'm going to find anything here. So now I added another spawn location so that I could try to find these items. Yeah, we got some stuff here though. And again, in the next video, I'm gonna show you guys how to put stuff in a sea chest so that you can just spawn them where you are. You don't have to go look for these items to make sure that they're spawning in. That's cool. What was that? Oh, a hay hook. That looks dangerous. It's a sickle. Ice axe. Nice. All right. So, let's now I'm not gonna let you guys see that. Might be children watching. All right. This is where we want to be. This is where we want to be. Okay. Where am I at? Okay. Let's see if we can find one of these quickly. We just need one of these items to show up for us. And this can be the hard part, you know, trying to find them because, you know, it's kind of randomized where they spawn, but that makes putting that chest, items in that chest where you want it much, very, 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 very valuable. Alright, so I like to check the garages and the sheds and right on. There we have it, ladies and gentlemen. Pitchfork spawning in the game. That's all, folks. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss any of my upcoming DayZ modding tutorials for consoles. Be sure, if you're on Xbox or PlayStation for that matter, to hop onto the King of DayZ's open servers. We've got a new mode we just dropped yesterday, PvP, King of PvP, and then we've got RP server as well. Check it out, come play with us. Tell us what you think. If you got questions or you need help with mods, you know, things of that nature, we have a Discord. Be sure to join the Discord, and a lot of helpful people, including ourselves, in that Discord. Until next time, guys, happy modding.